The world watched as the U.S. Supreme Court delivered a historic decision on December 2, 2025. The court overturned President Trump's sweeping tariffs, dismantling a key pillar of his economic policy. At the heart of the case, did the president overstep constitutional authority by imposing tariffs as taxes using emergency powers? The justices ruled decisively. Congress, not the president, holds the power over taxation and trade. The ruling followed intense arguments between the executive branch and a coalition of businesses and legal scholars. The decision is a major check on presidential authority and challenges the broad use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The impact is immediate and far-reaching, affecting the economy, international relations, and consumers. Businesses that paid billions in duties are now poised to claim refunds, creating a huge liability for the U.S. Treasury. International partners must reassess their trade relationships with the U.S. Politically, the ruling reshapes the national conversation about the balance of power between government branches. The era of Trump's tariffs ends abruptly, ushering in a new, uncertain chapter for American economic policy. Justice Barrett and others had signaled skepticism about the executive's power during oral arguments. The White House had warned of economic catastrophe if the tariffs were struck down. Now, the country faces the complex process of unwinding years of protectionist policy. The decision will influence future elections and debates over executive power. The world is left to grapple with the consequences of this legal earthquake. A new chapter in American economic policy begins. To grasp today's decision, we must revisit the origins of Trump's tariffs. Trump's trade policy aimed to protect American industries and force fairer trade deals, using tariffs as his main tool. The legal basis was the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, allowing the president to regulate commerce during a national emergency. The administration declared unfair trade practices, especially by China, as such an emergency, bypassing Congress. Critics called this a misuse of emergency powers for protectionist goals. The tariffs were unprecedented, affecting hundreds of billions in imports, steel, electronics, apparel, and more. Supporters saw them as a correction to flawed trade policy. Opponents called it a reckless trade war. The tariffs generated about $100 billion by late 2025, with claims they'd reduce the deficit. The administration used tariffs as leverage in negotiations, sparking global disputes and retaliation. The policy created volatility for businesses and consumers alike. Congress's constitutional power over taxes was at the center of the legal challenge. The debate over the tariffs became a debate over the limits of presidential power. Today's ruling brings that debate to a dramatic close. The legal battle was driven by businesses caught in the crossfire of the trade war. They argued the tariffs were illegal taxes imposed without Congress's consent. At the Supreme Court, attorney Neil Katyal argued the president lacked authority to impose such taxes, urging the justices to defend Congress's fiscal role. The government countered, claiming the tariffs were a necessary response to national security threats from unfair trade. The Justice Department warned of economic chaos if the tariffs were overturned. President Trump publicly declared a negative ruling would be disastrous. The justices pressed both sides on the limits of presidential power and the practical impact of unwinding the tariffs. Justice Barrett's questions about refunding payments signaled the court's seriousness. Other justices doubted the administration's broad definition of emergency powers. The case became a test of constitutional boundaries, with profound consequences for the nation. The court's skepticism toward the administration's arguments was clear. The stage was set for a landmark decision. The Supreme Court's decision sent shockwaves through the U.S. economy. The government now faces the obligation to refund billions in duties to importers. Companies like Costco and Revlon, who filed lawsuits, stand to benefit from these refunds. This creates a massive liability for the U.S. Treasury and erases a projected revenue stream. The loss of tariff revenue forces Congress and the White House to confront tough fiscal choices. For consumers, the end of tariffs should mean lower prices on goods like electronics and apparel. However, how quickly these savings reach shoppers remains uncertain. Some retailers may use the windfall to boost profits rather than cut prices. U.S. manufacturing faces mixed effects. Sectors once protected by tariffs may struggle, while those relying on imports could see costs fall. The economic landscape is reshuffled, creating new winners and losers. The process of refunding duties will be complex and bureaucratic. The manufacturing sector, already sluggish, may face new headwinds. Conversely, manufacturers using imported components could become more competitive. The full impact of this realignment will take time to emerge. The decision marks a turning point for American industry. The economic aftershocks will be felt for years. The Supreme Court's decision is a political bombshell. It's a direct rebuke of President Trump's signature policy and his broad view of executive power. The ruling energizes critics who long called the tariffs reckless and harmful. The debate now shifts from the tariffs' merits to the legality of the president's actions. The decision will dominate headlines and fuel partisan battles as elections approach. Trump's base, who supported the tariffs, will demand answers. The president may frame the ruling as a hostile judiciary's political act. The loss of tariff revenue kills proposals like a tariff dividend or eliminating income tax. The ruling removes a major policy tool, forcing a return to traditional debates over taxes and spending. The political landscape is fundamentally altered. The court's decision will be felt in American homes and workplaces. Consumers, who paid higher prices due to tariffs, may finally see relief as import costs fall. Lower and middle-income families, hit hardest by price hikes, stand to benefit most. Price drops will vary by industry, with electronics and apparel likely to fall fastest. For workers, the impact is mixed. Some in protected industries may face job risks, while others in export or import-reliant sectors could see gains. The end of tariffs may help rebuild farm incomes hurt by retaliation. The ruling highlights the trade-offs in economic policy: lower prices for some, disruption for others. The social legacy is a patchwork of winners and losers. The hope is for renewed growth and opportunity. Legal experts hail the ruling as a vital check on presidential power. Many see it as a reaffirmation of Congress's authority over taxation and trade. Neil Katyal is praised for framing the case as a constitutional issue, not just economic policy. Most economists welcome the end of tariffs, predicting lower inflation and stronger growth. Some warn of risks to vulnerable industries and potential job losses in manufacturing. International relations experts see a chance to reset strained alliances and return to multilateral negotiations. Rebuilding trust with global partners will take time and consistent policy. Corporate leaders in retail and tech are relieved, anticipating lower costs and more stability. Domestic steel and aluminum industries urge Congress to find new ways to protect them. The decision is seen as a turning point for law, economics, and diplomacy. The Supreme Court's decision reverberates worldwide. The end of U.S. tariffs signals a shift from confrontation to potential cooperation in global trade. Countries like China, the main target of tariffs, may see tensions ease and negotiations improve. Recent trade deals with the UK and South Korea are now being reassessed in light of the ruling. The U.S. loses leverage in ongoing negotiations, as tariff reductions are now court-mandated. The decision could revive multilateralism and strengthen institutions like the World Trade Organization. Allies hope the U.S. will re-engage with the global trading system. The post-tariff era may see more collaboration and less conflict. The world is watching how America adapts to its new role. The ruling could restore stability to global markets. The U.S. must rebuild trust as a reliable trading partner. International trade enters a new phase. The Supreme Court has ended the era of Trump's tariffs. The U.S. now faces the challenge of unwinding the tariffs and refunding billions to businesses. Congress and the White House must address the fiscal gap left by lost tariff revenue. Politically, the administration must find new ways to protect key industries, likely requiring bipartisan support. The president's response will shape the nation's path. Defiance could deepen division. Pragmatism could foster compromise. The economy is expected to benefit from lower inflation and stronger growth, but some sectors will struggle. Policymakers must support workers and communities affected by the transition. The ruling reaffirms that major policy shifts require Congress's consent. America closes a tumultuous chapter and begins a new one, filled with challenges and opportunities. The coming months will test the nation's leaders as they chart a new course for trade and economic policy.